Imagine standing in the lush Garden of Eden, the sun filtering through the leaves, when suddenly a chilling prophecy echoes through time. What if I told you that the very first hint of the final battle between good and evil was spoken right there among the first humans? In Genesis 3:15, a divine promise foretells that the seed of a woman would crush the serpent's head, a chilling prelude to the cosmic struggle we still face today. How does this ancient prophecy relate to our lives now? It means that even in our darkest moments, hope is alive and victory is promised. So as we explore this powerful revelation, remember, Jesus is with you, blessing you every step of the way. Don't forget to subscribe and let us know in the comments where you're from or how Jesus has worked miracles in your life. May He bless you abundantly. In the heart of the primordial story of creation found in Genesis, we encounter a profound enigma that reverberates across the corridors of history. Nestled within the unfolding drama of the fall is Genesis 3:15, a scripture that is both a curse and a promise, a declaration that sets the stage for an age-old cosmic conflict. And I will put enmity between you and the woman, and between your seed and her seed. He shall bruise your head, and you shall bruise his heel. With these words, God utters the first prophecy, sketching a conflict that would span time and cosmos, touching every corner of spiritual reality. This verse paints a picture of an ongoing spiritual war between two seeds, a profound allegory of the righteous line and the corrupted, one that ripples through every biblical narrative that follows, climaxing in the apocalyptic visions of Revelation. It's a story of spiritual genealogy that asks us to discern between the holy and the profane, light and darkness, a choice that has echoed down the ages and demands our response even today. Consider for a moment the symbolic weight carried by the concepts of the woman and her seed. In biblical typology, these are more than figures of speech. They represent an unfolding saga of divine purpose. The woman stands not just for Eve, the mother of all living, but potentially for Israel herself and ultimately for Mary, who would bring forth the Messiah. Her seed symbolizes the lineage of faith and righteousness, culminating in Jesus Christ, who, though bruised at the cross, fulfills the ultimate crushing of evil's head, a blow that carries forward the promises of redemption and victory. The serpent, identified with Satan, embodies not just a physical creature, but a spiritual adversary whose progeny would oppose the divine plan at every opportunity. His seed is a spiritual lineage that seeks to thwart the purposes of God from within the fabric of human history. This conflict is not simply about individual salvations, but the larger cosmic order in which God seeks to restore all this broken, marred by sin. The notion of a seed war is thus a foundational element in understanding prophetic scripture. It frames the battle lines, weaving through stories and genealogies. From the murderous jealousy of Cain, rising from the dust of this initial curse, to the rebellion of nations like Babel, each narrative thread reveals the serpent's relentless attempts to pollute the stream of human destiny. The lineage of corruption would later be embodied by figures like Nimrod and the tyrant kings of history, foreshadowing the ultimate adversary, the Antichrist, revealed in Revelation as the beast. This cosmic struggle is subtly detailed as Abraham's descendants would carry promises of blessing amid countless threats. Theirs was a journey wrought with peril, but underscored by divine intervention to preserve the sacred line. God's choice of Israel as a vessel of His plans was an affront to the adversary, fueling a spiritual war played out in real-world events, enslavements, exiles, and authoring betrayals. The epic of David and Goliath can also be read through this lens of seed conflict. David, the unlikely young shepherd, anointed for kingship, stands as a type of Christ, defeating Goliath, the symbolic giant of demonic opposition. The battlefields of this spiritual genealogy often look nothing like we expect, appearing in humble stables more frequently than mighty palaces. Jesus himself, when walking among men, made reference to this hidden battlefield. His parables often divided hearers into those who had ears to hear and those who did not, the wheat and the tares, the sheep and the goats, categories that echo the primordial choice between the serpent's deceit and God's truth. His life and ministry can be seen as the ultimate confrontation in this war, redefining power and authority, healing the sick, forgiving sins, and rearranging the order of spiritual realities. As we peel back the layers of this profound verse in Genesis, we see its influence stretching into prophetic visions. The Apostle John, in the Revelation, channels these ancient themes. The adversary is described there as a dragon, locked in an end-time struggle with the offspring of the woman clothed with the sun, a tale as old as Eden itself, brought to an apocalyptic crescendo. This war of seeds is more than allegory. It is the spiritual reality behind the veil of history. It informs our identity and purpose as participants in a story far larger than any single life. It implores us to choose daily which lineage we serve, to align with the divine seed, made possible by Christ's victory, to become heirs to this promise's fulfillment, to live as light amidst the pervasive shadows of a fallen world. In this cosmic narrative, the curse becomes a promise of redemption. A seed is not just a beginning, it's a perpetual unfolding, a catalyst for God's redemptive plan, unstoppable and unyielding, reaching through time to offer hope to every heart. And thus God's mysterious declaration in Eden becomes the manifesto of prophecy, a beacon illuminating the way through the darkness of the ages to the blazing glory of ultimate restoration. In the shadowing aftermath of Genesis 3:15's prophecy, history unfolds with the fates of Cain and Abel, an epical moment heralding the conflict of the ages. As the first sons of Adam and Eve, Cain and Abel become more than mere siblings. They embody the opposing seeds birthed from a singular act of defiance in Eden. This narrative is far from a mundane sibling rivalry. It is the first, intimate, glimpse into the spiritual battle that courses through humanity's veins. Cain, tasked as a tiller of the soil, represents more than the poor soil he works. His offering, void of humility and sincerity, reveals a heart untethered. The narrative of his life becomes a cautionary tale, echoing the serpent's allure. Abel, the shepherd, presents his offering with an open heart, embodying faithfulness and righteousness, the very characteristics of the seed meant to bruise the serpent's head. Divine rejection stirs a pot of resentment in Cain, a foreshadow of humanity's inclination towards jealousy, violence, and rebellion. His lethal act against his brother signifies not only murder, but the first tangible manifestation of the cursed lineage, the seed of the serpent growing roots. Banished to wander, Cain's existence is marked with a divine seal, not as a gesture of grace, but as a stark declaration of judgment. Through Cain's lineage, a thread of spiritual corruption weaves, creating a genealogy that resonates through time. This line begets city builders and craftsmen, men like Lamech, who, in Genesis 4:23-24, boasts of taking life with impunity, a precursor to societies thriving on moral detachment and violence. As humanity spreads, so does the sin-stained influence of Cain's descendants. They lay the foundation for what will become Babylon under Nimrod, a figure both historical and symbolic, drawing hearts away from God. Nimrod, in Genesis 10, is depicted as a mighty hunter before the Lord, not of game, but possibly men, signifying dominion and rebellion. His kingdom symbolizes the apex of defiance, a decisive inheritance of Cain's legacy. The ceaseless propagation of this malevolent lineage becomes evident as it stretches forward in time to manifest in Revelation's beastly representations. Revelation 13 unveils the culmination of this cursed line, the beast, an entity embodying the serpent's craftiness and malice, standing as the antithesis to God's creation. In this final figure, echoes of Nimrod's ambition and defiance resurface, clothed in apocalyptic armor. However, unlike previous followers, this beast is not merely a man, but a perfected weapon of the adversary, poised to war against the divine. Through these genealogical veins the serpent moves, ever seeking to ensnare the faithful with half-truths and allurements. The spiritual legacy of Cain thus serves as a grim study in contrast, setting the stage for the ultimate struggle between these bloodlines as foretold in Revelation. Here the serpent's offspring, developed from the likes of Cain, Lamech, and Nimrod, stand prepared for an ultimate confrontation against the Lamb. As the prophecy spirals to its climax in these end times, the tensions rooted in Cain and Abel, nurtured through Babylon's rise and Nimrod's reign, grow palpable. The intricate tapestry of these bloodlines weaves through Scripture, underscoring the stark dualism between those choosing the path of righteousness and those coercing towards darkness. The very essence of Cain's foundational choice to nurture envy, violence, and rebellion echoes through time, colliding headlong into Revelation's climactic showdown. This isn't just ancient history. It's a perpetual battle within humanity's core, revealing the urgency to awaken and discern where true allegiance lies. Humanity stands on a precipice, urged to choose, align with Abel's faithful way or succumb to the beast's beguiling path. As this chapter of fate edges toward its inevitable conclusion, every soul becomes a battleground, determining the ultimate victor in the cosmic conflict that began long ago in a garden. Chapter 3 draws us into an ethereal tableau, one wherein the pages of Genesis and Revelation converge, igniting an ancient conflict that whispers through our modern era. As we peer into this dazzling portrayal, Revelation 12 unfurls before us, a woman clothed with the sun standing poised upon the scarlet moon. This celestial figure mirrors the prophecy originally kindled in Genesis 3:15, a woman at war, a child with a destiny, and a serpent relentless in its pursuit. Herein lies an extraordinary tapestry where biblical Genesis and apocalyptic Revelation entwine, a syzygy of divine design and demonic ambition. The woman stands as a living ensign encapsulating both Israel's spiritual essence and the remnant preserved through fiery trials. Reflect with me on the echoes of Sarah and Hagar, of Rachel mourning in Ramah, and of Zion unbroken, waiting with expectant hope amidst her tribulations. Her story is written in pain and promise, the very fabric of humanity's spiritual lineage, torn between blessings and curses. Within her lies the enduring seed, Christ himself and beyond him, those who dwell within him by faith, forming the spiritual body. The child, both a singular figure and a collective body, finds fulfillment in Jesus, God incarnate, born into the crucible of human history. His life was the spearhead against centuries of darkness, his coming announced by heavenly hosts. Yet this child also mirrors his church, those brought forth through the womb of faith, leaving a servant to rule with an iron scepter, a symbol of ultimate justice and authority, a scepter that passes on to each believer willing to withstand till the end. Yet hovering with malevolent intention in this celestial drama is the dragon, red as the flames of perdition, crowned fiercely with malevolent power. This dragon is more than the mythical belly-crawlers or the creative fancy of an artist's brushstroke. It is Satan, the ancient serpent from Eden's shadows, ready to devour dignity and law. Revelation 12 lends apocalyptic dimensions to what began in Genesis as a whispered deception. Satan's tail swept a third of the stars, angels now fallen, his objectives as fiery as the day he vied for dominion over heaven itself. Witness. The grasping claws of tyranny through millennia, once two powerful talons diminished by a cross and an empty tomb, yet lingering through his earthly progeny. Leaders, ideologies, systems, always waiting, always watching for the errant moment to strike. In this tale there is a cosmic duel, an enduring enmity stretching across millennia, the seed of the woman against the seed of the serpent. With each son and daughter of the kingdom birthed in righteous freedom, Satan seeks out the stain of innocence, the undoing of every whisper of hope. His fangs pierce through wars, rumors, oppression, a hand grasping backward to the unrepentant acts of Cain, to empires of unrepentant cruelty. Yet through bloody martyrdom's reality and hardship's sting, the voice of God reverberates. The very gates of hell shall not prevail. This narrative, while ancient, is our truth. It slips through the pages of history into our hearts today, where battles unseen rage in the spirit. We fight not against flesh and blood, but delve into spiritual strongholds, tearing down the feigned fortresses sin erects. How shall we play our part in this divine chronicle? The call resounds, to cloth ourselves in Christ-like garments, stand affirmed in the Son's embrace, acknowledging God's promises fulfilled through our gracious advocate before the throne. Every act of love, every stance for truth, each moment of pure worship pulses through the fabric of this story, daring, defying, declaring to the darkness, "Soon, its end is night." The promise echoed at the dawn is now symbolically returning full circle, each step closing the breach left long ago. Like the woman in travail, the tremors that ripple across our present time tell of something profound, emerging, a kingdom that was prophesied, a war that began before human time, now drawing to a significant conclusion. The question looms, in subterranean vastness, do you see the hidden stories playing out before your very eyes? Will you awaken to the call, to the place imbued and prepared for the faithful fleeing into the wilderness, awaiting the divine sustenance of heaven? As we consider these colossal truths, Revelation 12 becomes both a mirror reflecting our journey and an epic saga challenging us to choose our side in the cosmic tapestry where time itself finds its omega. With eyes faint upon the horizon and hearts attuned to the timeless story, we await with hope as the battle's dramatic climax unfurls beyond the stars, the cosmic collision between birth and death, between light and shadow, echoing ever closer towards the ultimate victory promised in a garden ages ago. Our lineage, our life, our faith, what part shall we choose in this grand narrative inscribed across heaven's vault and humankind's heart? The narrative arc of the grand biblical story reaches its zenith in the chapters of Revelation 19 and 20, where the tapestry of prophecy unfurls to reveal a celestial confrontation of staggering proportions. Throughout the scriptures, Satan is depicted as a relentless force, a serpent coiled in the shadows, inflicting wounds of deception upon humanity, bruising the heel, as described in Genesis. Yet, in these climactic passages, we witness the ultimate realization of God's promise to crush the serpent's head, bringing an end to the dark dominion of deceit. In the cosmic tableau of Revelation 19, a divine figure emerges, whose very presence resonates with power and purpose. This rider, on a white horse, is none other than Christ, crowned with many crowns, eyes like flames of fire, righteous in his judgments. The imagery is vivid and profound. A sharp sword proceeding from his mouth, symbolizing the power of his word to vanquish lies and establish truth. This celestial warrior leads the heavenly hosts, and their approach heralds the impending defeat of the serpent. Consider the scene, a battlefield where the forces of heaven confront the armies of earth, led astray by the beast and the false prophet. These figures, symbolic of the corrupt powers swayed by the serpent's whispers, stand defiant yet doomed. The ensuing battle is swift, decisive, and marks the unmasking of evil, revealing the fragility of those who oppose the divine. The language here is both symbolic and literal, echoing the spiritual warfare that has underlined humanity's history. This spectacle of spiritual victory is further unfolded in Revelation 20, where Satan, the ancient serpent, finds himself bound and cast into the abyss. This act of divine intervention signifies more than just the restraint of malevolence. It is the inauguration of an era where the promise in Genesis 3:15 finds its fulfillment. The serpent's ability to deceive, to foster rebelliousness against divine truth, is effectively nullified. This symbolic imprisonment underscores the limitations of Satan's power when faced with divine sovereignty. Yet the narrative is not merely an account of spiritual triumph, but also a reminder of the ongoing relevance of this prophecy. The period known as the Millennium, 1,000 years of peace and righteousness, is conceptualized as the reign of Christ and his saints, serving as a foretaste of the ultimate restoration of creation. Here the implication is profound. It beckons believers to recognize the foreordained victory and live with the awareness of the impending culmination of this divine drama. However, the serpent's defeat in Revelation is not just a distant, esoteric prophecy. It speaks to our present era, a clarion call for introspection and readiness. Are we living in the final pages of this prophetic story? The signs of the times, the escalating moral tumult and rising divisive ideologies prompt a reflection. Might we be on the cusp of witnessing the definitive crushing of the serpent's head? Amidst this reflection, there's an invitation to discernment. The serpentine tactics of deception are ever evident in today's world, urging believers to guard against the seduction of falsehood and embrace the clarity of divine truth. The modern manifestation of bruising the heel is seen in the subtle, insidious distortions of truth, the erosion of spiritual values, and the pervasive doubt that tarnishes faith. In this epic saga unfolding, we find ourselves as active participants, called to align with the victorious Christ, to stand firm in love and truth, resisting the serpent's stratagems. The scriptural prophecy is our engagement, urging us to live with the expectancy of Christ's return, prepared for the moment when the serpent's dominion is irreversibly shattered. This prophetic narrative is not merely history, it is a living testament to the power of God, a reminder of the spiritual battle that continues even today. The final crushing of the serpent's head is more than an eschatological promise. It is the hope that anchors our faith, the light that guides amidst the darkness, and the assurance that truth and righteousness will ultimately prevail. As we dwell in this prophetic anticipation, let us not forget our role in this spiritual odyssey. To be vigilant, to be unwavering in our faith, and to be heralds of the eternal kingdom that is to come. In considering this grand narrative, we recognize the powerful invitation it offers, an entry into a deeper relationship with the divine, rooted in the unshakable promise of victory. As we navigate through these revelations, let us endeavor to live lives that reflect this ultimate triumph, assured that the crushing of the serpent's head is both an event and a reality already unfolding in our midst.